So is F125 worth your money? Should you buy it right now? Well, before we get into it, I have done 4 really detailed videos on 4 specific parts of the game if those are the things you want to hear about. That includes a handling review, an AI review, the new tracks review, and small changes review. I will mention those in this video, but not in massive detail like I did in those, so go and watch those if that's what you want to hear. But in general, should you buy F125? Well, I think that depends where you're coming from. So I'll split this video out into 3 different sections, whether you're coming from F124, older F1 games, or if you're completely new. So starting out with F124 then, and honestly, there's quite a few year-on-year changes this time. So first up, you've got the My Team Career Mode, which has been completely overhauled and improved. Now I'm only on race 2 of my Team Career Mode, but so far this seems much better, much more intuitive, much more like you're actually owning the team rather than just, pressing a couple buttons for a couple of facilities like the old one. This definitely seems like a big improvement overall. Then, of course, you've got Breaking Point 3, which is the 3rd installation of their story mode. This feels like the best Breaking Point they've made, not by much, but still, if you've played any of the previous ones, you will know that they were pretty decent always, but now the cutscenes are a little bit better, the storytelling is a little bit better, and it feels like maybe the end of this particular story arc. So, story mode has been added since last year. Some tracks have been updated as well, so there's 5 new tracks that have been LiDAR scanned, so that's Melbourne, Suzuka, Bahrain, Imola and Miami. All of those have been updated. Most of those, to be honest, aren't massively different to last year. It's not like they got like brand new layouts or anything like that. The only track that's really significantly changed is Miami because the horrible chicane is much more different this year. But overall, those other tracks, look, they're improved, they're better, they're nicer, they're more realistic, but they're not massively changed. Then, of course, you've got the 3 brand new reverse tracks. That is Zandvoort, Silverstone, and Austria. These tracks feel shockingly different when you drive them backwards. They really don't feel like the same track. Yes, you know the layout because you know the other track, but beyond that, they drive really differently. And EA have genuinely done a good job on these as well. They haven't added curbs and stuff, but they've done just about everything else. So obviously the pit lane all works in reverse nicely. They've moved the brake boards. They've made it so that AI can obviously race it in reverse. They've added things like the manual retirement zones and stuff where you retire from the car, things like that. Like, this is more work than people realize for a start. But regardless of that, it is genuinely a good addition. And it's really good because they presumably don't have to pay for an extra license on these tracks because they're already on the F1 calendar. And if they do, surely it's much cheaper to pay for a license to drive a track in reverse than it is to go to a whole new track that's not represented yet, not only get a license, but also have to build that track from scratch. This seems like a great solution to me. The tracks drive genuinely differently. They're really well done. They're really good fun to drive, and surely it's an easier thing to do than adding new tracks. So to me, this is a massive positive. 3 reverse tracks. Would we like all 24 to be reversed? Yes, sure, but give them time. The 3 are good so far. I'm happy. And of course the handling, again, I'm only going to mention this briefly because of the in-depth video that I've done on it. But overall, compared to last year, honestly, the handling is pretty much improved in every single way. I don't think there's anyone that will come from F124 that will say the handling is worse, whether you're on a wheel or a controller. I don't think it matters. The only way it's worse is possibly the force feedback. The force feedback seems to be a bit worse on wheel. Personally, on my Motor R9, I actually really haven't felt much different, but there's been a lot of people that are saying force feedback's dropping out or it just feels really weak or whatever. There's lots of people that aren't happy about the force feedback. But as that's pretty much the only complaint, I will be pretty sure they will fix that in the upcoming patches. But overall, for me, handling year on year at least is a definite step forward. The racing as well, year on year, is a big step forward. So first up, you've got the AI, which are much improved. Now, they're not perfect. They do need to be made faster. I'd love to see them introduce a 115 or 120 level AI. And also, they need to be more aggressive at times. Sometimes they just back out way too easily or a bit too cautious around the player. But other than that, they are much better. They race each other much better. There's no doubt about that. And they're generally a bit smarter. They tend to back out when they should back out and things like that. Overall, AI for me are a decent step forward, particularly if they can improve their speed and stop them being quite so passive with the player. It'll be a ginormous step forward. The tyre wear as well is definitely improved year on year. Last year, pretty much every race was a 1-stop. 100% distance races were maybe 2 stops, but the tyre wear was just so low. It was pretty boring, honestly. But this year, it's much better. The tyres wear much quicker, and it's just more fun for it. It's where real-life F1 should be. For 100% distance races are maybe a 1-stop if you can stretch it, but realistically 2 stops and sometimes even 3 stops. Much better. It makes the game so much more fun to play and brings some genuine strategy variety, including racing against AI, who do tend to mix things up a bit more now. And also, actually quite a big one, is they've increased the dirty air. Dirty air seems to be about 4 times stronger than it was on F1 24, and it just makes the game so much more realistic to play, where previously you were able to just follow pretty much nose to tail. The slipstream was more powerful than dirty air, so you were just right there with everybody and it was rubbish. Now it is genuinely difficult to get close and do an overtake, and it means when you do an overtake, you really feel like you've pulled something off. And it will just stop the horrible DRS trains we were getting in close online races before, where everyone was following nose to tail. This should massively reduce that because it is genuinely difficult to get close to people now. So big improvement there. The graphics year on year as well have taken a decent step forward. I guess it shouldn't be surprising as they've dropped support for Xbox One and PlayStation 4, but overall, definite step forward in the graphics. This is definitely the most realistic looking game ever. But on top of that, it is also more optimized. Somehow, you also get higher frame rate, despite it looking better. They've done a really, really good job on the visuals this year. Overall, the game runs beautifully and it looks incredible as well. And other than that, year on year, there's some smaller quality of life changes. There's lots of little things they've done. There's a few I've noted here. For example, when you try and kick people from your lobby, there's no longer a timeout now. I think it's about 30 seconds before that you can only kick people once every 30 seconds. That doesn't exist now. Nice little thing when you need to kick multiple people from your lobby. Side pod damage doesn't completely kill your race now when you're on simulation damage. Before, the car was undrivable with side pod damage. And there's no timer at the end of rank races. So now you can take as long as you want at the end of a rank race, or press advance straight away and it will take you straight back to the menus. No waiting for everyone else in the lobby, even though it was impossible to go instantly back into another race with them. You were always kicked out of that lobby afterwards anyway. So just tiny things that I've noticed there, but there's lots of little quality of life changes this year, and they all add up. They really do. These sort of things, they should be listening to the players a bit more and finding these more every single year. But yeah, overall this year on year, some nice quality of life improvements. Someone actually asked me on stream the other day, is there anything worse than last year? Yeah, for sure. I really had to think about it, because the answer is basically nothing. Year on year compared to F1 24, and I know the bar is low, we'll get onto other games in a minute. For the most part, the game is just better in every single way. So what if you're coming from an older F1 game then? What if you're coming from F1 23? A lot of you are still on that, I know, or maybe even 22, 21, 20. Well, obviously the biggest thing is the handling. Now this handling is still evolved from F1 24. If you love the handling of F1 23 and you're on a wheel, you may not be able to get on with F1 25. Now, what I will say is, as a wheel user myself, you will get used to it. Give it time and you will get used to it. 24, I never enjoyed that handling. Yes, I got used to it, but I never enjoyed it. This year's handling, I'm starting to enjoy it. It's not perfect. It isn't the handling model I would personally choose. I would personally still choose more of an F1 23 handling model than an F1 25 handling model. But it's fun now. You get used to it. It's fine. But if you are the sort of person that loves F1 23 handling, that may be a big hurdle for you. But I think if you're on controller, honestly, this game is built for controller. I do think you will like F1 25. Some other things to note that may have been removed since some older games. Classic cars, there is no classic cars in F1 25. I know a few years ago we had them. That's still a common request. So if you're still in a game that's got some classic cars, this one hasn't got any. Also, the track set is of course going to be different compared to older games. Things like Portugal was still in the game last year as an extra game. That is no longer in the game. So it is just the 2025 tracks, although 3 of them are now reversed, of course. But overall, it is just the 2025, the 2025 tracks. But honestly, just about everything else is probably better than the F1 game you're already playing. Obviously, career mode has taken a number of steps recently. You've got the My Team overhaul this year, the overhaul driver career last year. Breaking Point, of course, is in the game this year. Yes, okay, Breaking Point 1 was in F1 2021, Breaking Point 2 was in F1 23, but now you've got Breaking Point 3 in F1 25, so if you're coming from one of those games, that won't be missing, and it will be better than the previous versions of Breaking Point. I've just thought of a new one. Time Trial doesn't have wet weather still, so if you love that for some reason on one of the older games, maybe, but it was always a pretty niche feature anyway, honestly. So yeah, overall, other than those few bits, I think F1 25 is better than all of the previous F1 games. But what if you're not coming from a previous F1 game? What if you are a brand new player that's never had an F1 game before, or maybe you played back in F1 2012 or something that's barely comparable, and you're thinking, okay, all right, I've seen EA's marketing, I'm thinking about the game. Well, again, note the previous stuff. But honestly, this is a pretty feature-complete game. I've been saying this actually for a couple of years. I mean, let me just read off the features that you can go into to drive the cars. You've got My Team career, you've got driver career, you've got challenge career, you've got 2-player career, you've got Breaking Point 3, the story mode, you've got F1 the movie scenarios, that's new this year, you've got F1 World, which features series, solo multiplayer events, new invitationals, they're brand new this year, and rank mode. You've got Grand Prix mode, you've got custom multiplayer, you've got time trial, and you've got split screen. The game's also got dynamic weather, interactive pit stops, safety cars, virtual safety cars, red flags, and some genuine strategy variety, just to name a few things. Obviously, there's a lot more that I could have mentioned, but honestly, if you're brand new to the game, it is pretty feature complete. There's always things that we want more of, which I'll get onto in a little while, but for the most part, I think if you're an F1 fan, there's not really anything that will stand out to you that is going, why is that not in the game? There may be a few things if you're going to nitpick, but for the most part, all the big things are in. In terms of the handling though, for a driving game, how does it feel if you're a new player? Honestly, if you're on controller, as the majority of you will be, I think you'll get on with it just fine. If you're not coming from a previous game and haven't got any previous experience to know what to expect, I think this game feels nice on a controller. It's accessible, it's got a nice sharp front end so you can just point the car exactly where you want it to go. The assists are good if you need them as well. If you're a new player and you're on a controller, you'll be fine. If you're a new F1 game player and you're on a wheel though, I think if you've never played a racing game on a wheel, then I think you'll be okay. However, if you're coming from another racing game, particularly if it's a realistic racing game, something like iRacing or Assetto Corsa or Le Mans Ultimate, this game won't feel natural to you. Even if you're coming from something like Forza Motorsport or Gran Turismo, games that are sort of somewhat realistic but not sims, simcades I would call them. This game is also a simcade but just doesn't really feel like any other racing game. Again, you'll get used to it, it'll be fine, but if you're coming from one of those games and you love the handling, you may not like the handling of this. It may not feel natural to you, possibly. But that's enough on where you came from previously, whether you played the previous F1 games or whatever. Let's talk about some of the cons, some of the negatives of F1 25. Well, I think the first thing to mention is going to be bugs. That's always a big one that comes up with EA Codemasters games. Honestly though, at launch, this feels like the least buggy game we've had for quite a few years. There is still bugs in the game, you will experience some. Here's the bugs that I've personally found. Team radio, that's often quite buggy. I'll often say, teammate ahead, 0.0 seconds, like weird. Sometimes they just won't respond to you. Sometimes they'll talk about the wrong driver. Team radio seems a bit off at the moment. I'm sure they're working on that.
It looks like we might have an issue. Hang in there, we're attempting to manage it.
Brilliant. Yeah, cheers, Mark. So happy you just ignored me there.
The MFD in the bottom right of your screen there will often be capitalized accidentally and will often change as well from lowercase to uppercase. Bit of a weird one. Again, they're working on fixing this. Track limits are a little bit inconsistent. Honestly, the only track though that I've noticed that they're massively inconsistent is Imola, which is weird because on previous games, they were way too harsh on Imola. Now that they've LiDAR scanned Imola, they're now way too easy at Imola.
How is that not a warning? Madness.
The AI sped in the pits when I raced them around Brazil. They literally came into the pit lane way over the speed limit and didn't get a penalty for it, and also gained over a second on me because of it. So that wasn't ideal. And also in My Team Career mode, I had a DRS issue, which I then fixed in the pit lane. That's a new feature this year, by the way. That didn't happen before. But then when I paused the game out on track after fixing it, it brought the issue back. Bit of a weird one. So yeah, that's the bugs I found. That is a list of 6 bugs. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't more. In fact, I've just thought of another one that online still isn't that stable. We had to restart the game recently because our online lobby crashed. So online definitely introduced a few little stability issues, but there's been no major glitches that I found. This is their most stable game in a number of years, and I think it's important that we highlight that. Yes, it's not perfect launch, but let's be honest, no modern game is perfect at launch because post-launch patches exist now. Gone are the days where you sent out a disc and there was no internet patches. That doesn't happen. Every game launches in a slightly, buggy state. And honestly, I think this is now just similar to every other game that launches these days. But what other changes would I like to see? I do genuinely think they've made a lot of right decisions this year, but what decisions would I make for next time, or would I have made for this time? Well, first of all, career mode. Obviously, they've made big steps the last 2 years with driver career and now My Team career. I think I would like to see in the future merge the 2 career modes now. I think they're now close enough that I'd like to see My Team and driver career merge into one just big career mode. Because it would be absolutely awesome to be able to maybe start in F1 as maybe a Sauber driver, do a year there, then work your way up, then end up winning a championship for Ferrari, and then maybe season 4, you go, I'm going to start my own team. Imagine how cool that would be. And then maybe you start your own team, that doesn't go so great, so you quit your own team. And season 7, you go to drive for Red Bull, and someone else manages your team for you. Can you imagine how cool that would be? I really think there's some real opportunities there if they were able to merge the career modes into one big career mode now. That'd be really cool. I'd also like to see custom drivers reintroduced to this merged career mode that I'm proposing, because in My Team career mode, you can't make your own driver now, which I think, it's a game. People like to create their own character that's them. So many people try to make characters in games look like themselves. People like doing that. I would like to see that come back. I'd also like to see a stats editor as well. So you could, choose to, maybe if you think Lewis Hamilton's been underrepresented in the game, you could choose to boost up his stats and just have a full-on stats editor. Again, it would just allow us to create the sort of career mode that we want to be able to create. I'd also like to see a reorderable custom calendar in career mode. Now, this actually went around Reddit recently because there was a hint in the game that claimed that you could reorder the calendar after season 1. That was actually false. You can't do that. You can choose which tracks you want for season 1. So you can say, hey, I don't want to race around Monaco. I want to race around Spain. You can also have 10, 16 or 24 race calendars, which is cool. But I would like to be able to reorder them for future games. And also I'd like to be able to do it in season 1. I'm pretty sure it's licensing that currently stops them being able to introduce reverse tracks or being able to significantly change the calendar in season 1. I'd like to be able to do it season 1. Come on, F1, it's a game. Let us just run the calendar one, even if it's season 1. Something else I'd like to see them do as well is introduce more changes to the sort of common game modes. So I'm talking about Grand Prix mode, rank mode, time trial. I'm not expecting them to all be overhauled every year. It is a yearly release at the end of the day, but I'd like to see them evolve. For example, time trial. I would like to be able to sort my time trial leaderboards or filter my time trial leaderboards by fixed setup. So I could see that, get rid of everyone with a sweaty setup, how am I doing in terms of that leaderboard? That'd be a cool addition to time trial. Also on Grand Prix mode, I'd like to see a custom grid added. This is already a feature that they've got online. So in theory, this is something they should be able to quite easily add to Grand Prix mode. Because again, I'd like to be able to maybe straight out to Monaco Grand Prix, go and set the grid the same and see if I could work my way through the field as George Russell or something. Do you know what I mean? Custom grids for Grand Prix mode should be there, honestly. I'd also love to see them adding other random rules. So for example, give me the option to just permanently disable DRS. Give me the option to scale the tyre wear. I want double the tyre wear or half the tyre wear. Just anything like this, particularly online, that allows us just to customize our experience more and create our own custom scenarios. And it's a game at the end of the day. I want to be able to have fun with it. I think they should be introducing these kind of smaller changes every single year. All the game modes should change a little bit every year, in my opinion. Speaking of game modes, honestly, Ranked kind of needs its own shout out because Ranked hasn't changed now for a couple of years. And honestly, Ranked is the sort of mode that could do really well on the F1 game. It's a fundamentally competitive game. Of course it is, it's racing. Ranked should be up there with one of their most popular modes, but it's not right now because the ranked system is currently quite flawed. And look, you've got games like iRacing that have got a fantastic iRating system. Rocket League has got a fantastic MMR-based ranked system. Just take inspo from these and it's got to be overhauled. I really think ranked should be one of the best game modes and it's currently one of the worst. Genuinely, on launch week, I didn't even get a full lobby. And that's more how ranked works than it is that there's not enough people playing it. So ranked, honestly, I really want them to give it some love. AI as well, what I improve about them? Well, the main thing I would personally improve is make them faster at the top end. 110 AI just isn't quick enough these days. I'm running a default setup in my career mode just to make it somewhat close, which is costing me at least half a second out compared to a custom setup. And I'm still more competitive than I should be on the maximum AI difficulty level. And it just makes the career modes and stuff, all these awesome features they're adding, almost unplayable because the AI is just too slow. So just look, the AI already have an artificial advantage. Over 100 AI, they start to take weight off the car. Just do that more. Add a 115 AI or a 120 AI. I think this is becoming an essential, honestly. And also, I mentioned earlier, but AI are a bit cautious in battling. I'd like to see them. They're pretty smart now. I would just like to see them go for it a bit more at times, rather than maybe being a bit overcautious now. I like to see also some more gameplay features, things like maybe free driving in the pit lane or allowing lap cars to unlap themselves under safety cars. I'd like to also have full race director control, so I'd like to be able to throw a safety car when I choose to do so. I'd like to be able to make it start raining when I choose to do so. I'd also like to be able to control the penalties, remove people's penalties, add people's penalties. Having a proper race director mode would be huge, especially for the sort of league racing scene. I'd also like to see some DLC tracks added. Now, I know this is not going to be popular because you'd have to pay for it, but at the end of the day, are they going to pay a massive license to a new track that doesn't exist on the calendar yet and pay to develop it for you just to pay the same cost next year? Not very likely. But if we were to say, look, 10 quid for Hockenheim, that's a lot of money, I get it. But what if that guaranteed you a license to play Hockenheim over the next 3 games? I think that's got to be crucial because no one's going to pay DLC for a game for 1 year. It's just too much, especially if you charge someone like 10 quid, which you'd have to for a brand new track. But if it's over 3 years, I'd pay £10 if it was across multiple games. I also want to see them continue listening to players on these smaller quality of life improvements. People like me know how to improve ranked. People like League Racers know how to improve the custom lobby settings. People like Arav or someone that plays nothing but career mode knows how to improve career. Just keep listening to the players. These weird little niche things that only come up from people that have been playing the game for hundreds of hours. They need to just keep evolving it. Just tiny changes. Just keep going. And one final thing that I am very interested in the future is, can F1 26 break the current cycle? So far, we've had F1 2021, very popular. 22, flop. 23, popular. 24, flop. 25, popular. Is 26 going to be a flop? Well, surely we're not going to have another story mode because they seem to want to do that every 2 years, which is fine. They've only just overhauled career mode as well. So what is left for F1 26? Obviously, we've got a big regulation change next year. I'm sure they'll make a big deal out of that, but that won't be enough to stop the cycle. In my opinion, I think if they went really hard on gameplay, in just overhauling the gameplay and making the gameplay better with some of the features I mentioned earlier, things like unlapping yourself on the safety cars and things like that, and maybe full control on a cooldown lap, full control in the pit lane, things like that. If they went really hard on that, I think that could be enough to break the cycle, and then just, keeping everything else, evolving everything else slightly. But it's a big question mark. I know it's a whole year away from now. We're talking about F1 25, but I am really interested to see what they're going to do with F1 26, and they've got to figure out some way to break this up-down cycle they've got going on at the moment. But anyway, that's a lot of words, but should you buy F1 25 right now for full retail price? I think if you're coming from F1 24 and you enjoyed F1 24, particularly if you played F1 24 right up until the end of the game cycle, the answer is just yes. It's improved in just about every way over F1 24. The handling is better, the feature set is better, there's less bugs, there's lots of quality of life improvements. It's not really gotten better in any way for F1 24, and if you're still playing 24, it is a no-brainer. If you're coming from F1 23 or older F1 games, I think if you're on a controller, the answer is once again, yes, it is worth your money. If you're on a wheel and you love the handling of those games, you may be put off. My advice to you would be to try it in some way. EA Play often do a trial, or on something like Steam, you can refund the game if you play less than, I think it's an hour and a half or 2 hours. You may go, no, I hate it, I can't do it, fine, it's not for you. You may go, well, all right, it's different, but actually, yeah, I quite like it, it's grown on me, which is what I've done. If you're brand new, if you're on a controller, yes, it's worth it. And you're an F1 fan, I guess. If you're on a wheel, again, if you're willing to accept that this is an accessible game for the masses, it isn't a sim, maybe you can get your head around it, but you're probably not going to be comfortable with that. So yeah, overall, I think this F1 game is fantastic. I think it's a big improvement year on year. I think it's the best F1 game they've ever made. I do think this game is worth full retail price. And look, if last year's anything to go by, you won't have to wait long for discount if you decide it's not. Last year's game ended up being 80% discounted after about 6 months. So if you're not convinced, maybe just wait a little bit. But honestly, for me, this game is worth it. Anyway, guys, that is my full review on F1 25. Drop a sub if you haven't already. And as always, go and look at some other videos on the channel, particularly the review videos. As I said before, we've got the handling review, we've got the AI review, we've got the new tracks review, and we've got the small changes review, where I'll go into much more detail on those things. And drop a sub because we've got lots more videos coming on F1 25. Anyway, guys, catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.